Hi, I'm Rachel Whitefield, certified life coach, and with me is our resident healing heathen, Jackie Black. Thank you for joining us on another fabulous episode of Whiskey Bent
Spellbound with Black.
and Whitefield.
Yeah,
Got some power today on the intro, Jackie.
we are killing it.
Yes.
Rachel, what are you drinking?
I am so glad you asked. I know on the last show we talked about paying the whiskey budget, and boy, did we come through. Um, Today, I'm drinking a brand new whiskey to the show, brought to you by our friends at the Virginia Distilling Company. So they had a whiskey tasting they invited me to not too long ago, a couple weeks ago. And I got to try a variety of their flavors that they brought to the whiskey tasting here in Denver. And I decided to go with their Cuvée cask of Courage and Conviction American Single Malt Whiskey. So this is it's like their mid-range higher end. When I went
Yeah.
to my local liquor store, I had to ask for it. It was behind the shelf, behind the cashier,
Mm-hmm.
top
Yeah.
shelf. So
Shout
I have
out.
tried this before and I'm very excited to have it in my home and to drink it on the show. What
Yeah.
about
Shout
you?
out. Shout out our friend, the master distiller, the director of distillery at Courage and Conviction, Dustin
Shout out.
Castor. We shout him out. He's been a good friend of the show and a really loyal supporter of us. So we really appreciate his input, his whiskey knowledge, and now his whiskey.
Yes. So, yes, when I say our friends at the Virginia Distillery Company, our friends at the Virginia Distillery Company.
Our actual
So,
friends. Yeah.
yes. So, and they support us and we are happy to support them on the show. So, this is the first of many bottles I'm sure we will be partaking here on the show. So, there's not a lot of whiskeys we can small batch that we can get in both of our regional areas, but this is one of them and I'm very happy to keep partaking on the show
Yeah.
outside
I
of personal world. So yeah.
Yeah, that's actually my favorite of their whiskeys is the
Oh.
Cuvée cask. Yeah, I really like that one. It is on the more expensive side, but absolutely worth it. A really
Mm-hmm.
good sipping whiskey in my opinion, but I like that one over ice with a little bit of a bitter in it. Yes,
I
girl.
am ready. I am ready with my ice molds. They finally froze.
Oh, good.
Yes, but before we get into that, what are you drinking today?
I'm drinking my Rebel Stoke. I'm still on my Rebel Stoke.
Rebel
It's
Stoke
delicious.
peanut butter whip.
Revel Stoke Nut Crusher peanut butter flavored whiskey, a Canadian brand. But
Mm,
again, I just got it because I liked the fact that it was called Nut Crusher and it had a little squirrel on the label.
we love
Sometimes
good
you just
marketing.
buy the whiskey for the bottle, okay?
Yeah.
Sometimes that's what happens. But that Virginia Distillery, Courage and Conviction, that's my next bottle of whiskey. So we will have similar whiskeys on the next show and we'll talk about how we drink them.
Yeah, and we're going to be finally back on the same page of drinking the same
Yeah.
whiskey. But I will say, when I bought this, it comes in like a beautiful cylinder, a metallic cylinder. And then
Yeah.
on the bottle right here, it has this like little metal token thing that comes off that's like attached to it that it
It's
can.
a magnet.
I love it so much. And
Yeah.
so I was like, I'm a sucker for good marketing, good branding, good
Yeah.
packaging. I was like, Courage and Conviction from Virginia Distillery Company they've got it going on. Well done. Well done,
Yeah.
all of them. And
Yeah. We do
they
like
have a
them.
head female distiller as well, owner as well, I believe.
Yeah. They have a female
Yeah.
owner. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we love to support them as well. Real quick before I pour this delicious whiskey over ice, the ice molds that I have
Yeah.
been waiting quite some time for finally
Couple of
froze.
days.
Couple of days, well, when I have no sense of time, I'm like, yeah, a huge block of ice can absolutely freeze solid in 4 hours. I mean, what could go
No, it's totally
possibly
fine.
wrong? But yeah, so it looks like little snowflakes on the sides, and I have the fancy sprinkles moonstone glitter. So it's like this
Oh, I love Moonstone.
stamped block of ice, and it's frozen solid. So we do love that finally. I wasn't going to have an ice catastrophe where it's just like firm on the outside and a big, like sloshy mess on the inside.
It's just water on the inside.
I'm fine.
This is this is
Everything is
great.
fine.
This is great.
The
Well, I
opening.
still have my little spell bottle of prison powder.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got that in sterling silver
Oh, yeah.
right into my glass
Ooh.
because I'm drinking my whiskey neat. I really love peanut butter whiskey neat. I
Mm.
love it. Are you
Ooh.
snooting it? Giving a little nose?
I am straight from the bottle. And what I loved about this, and it has like a chocolatey finish.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really, I was like, mm. So they're doing something great
Yeah.
over in
I
your
know
neck of
that one has a bit of a tannic taste right at the front of it,
the
but then it finishes so warm and smooth. I really like it.
Yes, 1,000%. So I really like it. So okay, over the ice, over the glitter. I had to get an extra large cup today. So
Yep. Clinkies.
mm.
What do you think?
And then I like to take a breath afterwards. It was so chocolatey. It's like
Yeah.
like caramely finish.
Caramel. That's what
Yeah.
it is. Yeah.
Mhm. I think when I was at the whiskey tasting, I was like, ooh, I felt so like proud of myself. I was like, you can taste the sophistication.
You
Hey.
can.
Yes.
It's pretty
So
good.
mm, it's right
They
up
do
there.
they
One of
do
my
a
favorites.
great,
Very
yeah.
exciting. So yes,
They do a really great job there.
they do.
I got to do an entire private tour of the distilling room, all of their, like machinery and stuff, and then also their cask house. So I was able to taste all of the whiskey straight from the cask when I did a tour with Dustin. So it was a really, really good learning experience. I learned a ton about whiskey from that dude.
Yeah, I
Seriously.
can't wait until I go out and visit you, and then I can take the tour
Yeah.
myself.
Well,
Hmm.
I'll show you the Courage and Conviction distillery, the Virginia Distillery Company. It's not that far from here. It's only like an hour from my house, and it is beautiful. You'll love it.
Hmm. Yeah,
We'll go have a glass. We'll
or or a
sit in
few.
the barrel chairs. It's a great place. It's a great place like for a little day trip,
Hmm.
like just spend a couple of hours at the distillery. Huge shout out to them.
Yes, thank you, thank you so much to our friends at Virginia Distillery Company for now and in the future. So
Yeah.
it's great. Oh, yes. So from the whiskey tasting, from the new whiskey, onto our theme today, Jacqueline. Oh,
Yeah.
I think we've got
Well,
it's a good show today. Mm-hmm.
I think so. I think because this show came about because of my trip
Mm-hmm.
during my trip to England, because I had done something that really healed a part of me. So I was like, let's talk about this on the show because it's something that especially us millennial women are really having to actively do.
Yes.
So,
So the theme of today's show is healing your inner child slash reparenting yourself. So I think those are really like a hand and a glove. And then
yeah.
also being elder millennials, I think this was kind of healing your quote unquote inner child was really kind of coming on the scene as like therapy was being very new. And I just want to say I'm a certified life coach. I'm not a therapist. We don't do anything from like we do not um diagnose or anything like that, but we're just going to talk about our experiences with this technique and what it means to us.
Yeah.
So nothing out of the DSM-5 or anything like that, but we're just going to talk about what it means to us and kind of how it makes us feel when it comes to this. So I think when therapy was kind of first coming on the scene, it was like, oh, your inner child in. But then it's like, hey, you know what? There's really something to that. And
Yeah.
then kind of a new concept that I'd been introduced to was reparenting yourself. So we can kind of jump into it a little bit. So why don't you talk about your experience recently and why we're talking about this on the show and like how you felt about it and why you feel
Yeah.
it's important. Mhm.
Yeah. Well, Here's the thing. When you're growing up, certain things happen to you during certain phases of your life. You go through specific things and you're really impressionable. And those things leave tiny little scars. And you don't even know that they're there sometimes. And so when you're trying to heal your inner child, or when you do something that heals your inner child, you realize how therapeutic it actually is by taking those action steps. So I guess I'll just let's talk about like first what inner child work is. Inner child work involves unlearning things. That you may realize that you have a lot of automatic thoughts that aren't very kind, negative beliefs about yourself are formed in childhood, and that can continue to impact us as adults. So while I was in England, I purchased something. And when I bought this, I was like, holy fuck, that felt like 16-year-old me, not my child, but my inner teenager that was hurt pretty badly. Felt a healing, felt like, yeah, yes, I'm so excited, you know? So I bought a Juicy Couture tracksuit.
Velour
And
tracksuit.
oh God, Rachel, I immediately Marco Polo'd you. I went home, put it on, and I was like, look at what I got. It was something that when those came out, there's no way I would have been able to afford one of those. You know, Paris Hilton was wearing them, you know, on her TV show, The Simple Life. And they were really like gaining popularity, but I was at a point in my life where I could not afford that. Yeah. And so I bought one, and that's what clicked in my head, is that I was actually healing a part of me. There's so many things now that I've realized that I've been doing over, I think, my lifetime, that has made me feel like I am, now that I've started healing my inner child actively, I feel like, oh, I have kind of been slowly doing this, but now that I know how much it impacts me and I'm cognizant of it, now I'm like doing it on a regular basis, and it feels really good.
What do you think the wound was? And did you realize it needed to be healed? Or it wasn't until you're like, this is healing a part of me that I didn't know was broken?
Yeah, I didn't know it hurt so bad. I cried after I put it on. After I Marco Polo, I was like, I cried because I was like, this is something, I'm doing something right now, and I didn't even realize I was doing it.
Was it,
So
is it because you're like, oh, I didn't have that kind of money growing up to have it? It was
no, dude, I was so broke. So like, if we're gonna like rewind it all the way back, let's just talk about like specific things that I have noticed that I am actively healing that are part of like a little bit of the trauma that came with growing up. And I think everybody's got a little bit of trauma, you know,
everyone's got a little bit of trauma.
especially if you're a millennial, period. You have trauma. You watched the Twin Towers fall. You are traumatized. Get over it. We all have trauma. It's just about how we heal from at this point and live our lives and not pass on that trauma. So like, for example, like my parents did not get along. Del and Diane, Del drinks and Diane yells, right? So all they really just fought constantly. That is the only time they communicated, is when they were screaming at each other. Vacations, yelling. Even to this day, they're constantly bickering.
Because Del and Diane are still together.
They are still married. And they've been through, like, my mom tried to leave him a couple of times, but never really followed through with it. And I think it's because she had 4 children with him. And also she's Catholic. So I think it had a lot to do with why they stayed together. Plus, they were both active duty military, both of them.
Mhm.
Dual military is not common. And like, it's hard to be a single military parent.
Mhm.
There's no, like, if they got a divorce, she would have had to get out of the military because you have to have somebody assigned to your children, basically, if you
Mhm.
have to leave. So, um, to heal my inner child, I confronted them as an adult.
Mhm.
I was like, why are you guys still together? Is it because you're best friends and you just annoy the fuck out of each other? And their answer was yes.
Better friends than lovers.
Yeah. They
Mhm.
don't sleep in the same room,
Mhm.
let alone the same bed. They barely spend any like quality time together unless they are going sightseeing, like on a tour. They
Mhm.
love to go on tours together. It's weird. Or they are sitting on the couch. They like to sit on the couch together
Mhm.
um on their respective tablets and talk shit from across the couch. And that's like the only time they spend together. So I've had to unlearn this type of communication actively as an adult in my own relationships. And I think that I've become sort of even avoidant of confrontation in my relationships to the point that I have become a people pleaser.
Mhm.
So I am actively unlearning that people pleaser
Mhm.
mode.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard. It's something that I have to work at every single day and I have to be conscious of it. So, and that's the opposite of you. Your
Yeah.
parents, right?
My parents never fought. You could cut the tension with a knife, but there was never any yelling in my home whatsoever, unless my sister and I were yelling at each other just because we're siblings and we're sisters.
Right.
But it's like they never, like when we talk about, and this is something when we talk about reparenting ourselves. And so I'm going to touch on briefly what reparenting kind of means. Because I think, again, it is a hand in a glove of like healing your inner child. And so reparenting refers to when an adult seeks out to understand how their childhood needs were not met and then work to fulfill those needs for themselves. So this could include a lack of emotional support, affection, security, attachment, or structure from one's parents. So it's like what we didn't get from those adults around us in our formative years. And then how do we see the flaw in the plan, growing up and to be
Yeah.
like, okay, how I see this thing that does, I don't like to use the word fixed inside of me, but it's just more of like, hey, this is not a really healthy pattern that I have. I can see that it has been destructive in my life before. And now I want to go and fix it. So, for instance, like, you don't like conflict because there was conflict in your home and a lot of it sounds like for
Yeah.
me, it's not that there wasn't conflict in my home, but my parents just did not speak to each other. And maybe they had conversations behind closed doors, but we never saw how that conflict gets resolved.
Yeah.
So I didn't ever know. It's just, and then I took that pattern into my marriage where it's like, lack of fighting does not a good relationship make.
Right.
I'm saying like, if you stay with someone long enough, you're not going to see eye to eye on everything. And that's okay. You are two different people with two different opinions. That's okay. Conflict will happen. It's what you do with it.
Yeah.
And so, because I didn't know healthy conflict resolution techniques, that it would be like that it's okay to argue. And what do you do with that? How do you move forward as a team together?
Yeah.
I don't know. I never saw it, so I didn't ever know how to do it. So when it came to my marriage, and again, I got married very young, but for the 13 years we were together, it's like, man, when things were good, like things were good. But like the second there was, oh, we don't agree on that, we would both kind of shut down. And then we would be like, well, we don't want to fight. And so there wouldn't be any resolution to say the conflict that was within the relationship, the true thing that we were in disagreement on. But we just were like, well, we just don't want to fight. And it's like one small speck of a disagreement, of an argument, of something made me feel like my entire relationship was just built on the sand. Like, oh, is it not safe? Like the marriage itself, because I was married to someone, that made me feel like, okay, we're going to get through it because we have this legally binding document that says we need to.
Yeah.
But I never truly felt like I was safe if we weren't in a really good place. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
and
It's
so,
the opposite of what
yeah.
happened to me.
And so we just kind of swept everything under the rug. And so it is like the straw that breaks the camel's back, because he was just like, okay, I'm going to leave. And I was like, okay. There wasn't like, shut the fuck up. Like, we're going to figure this out. Like,
Yeah.
go be dumb elsewhere. Like, I didn't have that like stability to be like, we have very deep roots
Right.
that that it's gonna be okay. And we know how to speak to each other in a disagreement,
Yeah.
but it was just like, hey, we just don't want to argue anymore. We just don't want to not, like, it was almost like not arguing was the safety net, which really made it more unsafe later. So not physically unsafe, but like emotionally unsafe, or like it wasn't really, like, again, that piece of paper was the only thing keeping us together, honestly. That's not
Wow.
healthy. Your relationship is what should be keeping you together.
Yeah.
And so it's like we didn't have a strong foundation of conflict resolution communication, you know? And so in my life now, I see what that cost me, because again, like, yeah, it didn't work out with my ex-husband. I hope all good things for him, but it's like it could, I think if we both had the tools, it might have worked, because
Yeah.
like when things were good.
Yeah.
But it's like it is very sad that this thing has to crumble because there is no tools in your toolbox to be able to move forward. So you don't just sweep it under the rug and then all of a sudden you got this mountain, of just like unresolved shit that
Yeah.
it's not just one thing that ended my marriage. It was like the accumulation of all the things that were left unresolved. So it's like what I take through therapy in my relationship now is I would rather have a few uncomfortable conversations
Mhm.
rather than an explosive big one because you just don't know how to handle it. Like I would rather it just be uncomfortable briefly in the moment than it like, oh my gosh, like we just don't know how to talk. So it's like, okay, I better start over with someone else because you don't know. But I really am so thankful for the communication I have in my current relationship because I know how important it is not to let things fester and to
Yep.
actually have like healthy techniques to say, hey, if we needed to take a step back for a hot second and cool off, that's okay. But we're going to come back and we're going to address this, and to be able for me to not just shut down when things get emotionally hard, because that was really difficult for me to do. But it's also to say, like, hey, you're important to me. This relationship is important to me. And it's going to get a little dicey here in the next day or two, but we're going to make it through. And then when you get into the next, disagreement or what have you, it'll be like the relationship itself doesn't feel unstable.
I have the exact opposite problem. My parents only yell at each other. Like that's their conflict resolution.
Mhm,
They yell until my dad actually shuts down.
mhm.
Dell will just stop and then he'll just go in his room and shut the door and then they let a day pass and then it's like nothing ever happened. It there is also no conflict resolution. There is just yelling and then it ends and then everybody forgets about it. Like there's
Oh,
no solution.
so it's
So
kind of the same. There's just a lot of yelling in the meantime.
right, there's
Yeah.
yelling and then it stops and then it's swept under the rug.
Mm.
So I definitely, while I didn't have very healthy partnerships, when I thought I was in a healthy partnership, that was something that I actually had to get control of. Like I had to actively control the volume of my voice, not yell. I'm Sicilian and Mexican, so it is a fiery combination. If
Mhm.
I get to a point where I can't control myself, start throwing things. So like it's not healthy. So
Mhm.
I because I know I get to that point, I avoid the confrontation, and I very much so to heal this part of me, I guess,
Mhm.
I am I'm just not in relationships right now. Like
That's okay.
I am really like taking a break to to like focus on how I deal with any kind of stressful situation, because I've come to realize that seeing that type of conflict is just not something that's going to be helpful for me if I ever do get into a relationship again. And I think also I'm actively healing so I can be a better friend to my friends as
Yeah.
well. Right? Like we have to get into uncomfy conversations even as friends,
Yeah, we own a business
right?
together.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So there is no like yelling. There is none of that. We have to be able to come together, and even not even just about the business, about any kind of personal aspect in between either it be me and you or like me and my other friends, you and your other friends. We
Mhm.
have to have some kind of conversation at some point, um because we're all different personalities, and what's happening in our heads is different from what's happening in other people's heads. But it's very clear that you and I did not grow up with good examples of how to communicate
Mhm.
and conflict resolution. So that's something I think, as far as healing our inner child, we are going to have to consistently and actively um give ourselves opportunities to heal that. You know what I'm saying? Like just we have a little bit of grace with ourselves when it comes to how we deal with that, but also actively find tools to heal that part of ourselves.
Yeah, and I know we talked about this on a show recently where it's just like sometimes it feels icky to do something new. Like it's hard for me to um head on initiate a conversation of like, hey,
Yeah.
like because I always end up talking myself out of it, like it'll be okay. Like it's easier to go down that almost path of least resistance of it'll be okay. It's not that big of a deal to me, whatever it is, but it's like no, you should have. And it's like, again,
Yeah.
we've had a significant half of our life experience,
Yeah.
underneath our belts at this point. But so I can see friendships that have withered on the vine because I did nothing, because I did not address something.
Yeah.
I see people who also have the same kind of reactionary responses that I do, that it's like, okay, well, we're both not talking about it. So it's like, okay, like, and that friendship has withered, but it's also like having enough boundaries in place to be like, you're a more spicy, fiery personality. We've never been in a situation like this before, but going back to relationships, I've told people like, I didn't grow up in a yelling house. You cannot
Yeah.
yell at me. If you
Yeah.
want, I believe in de-escalation. I'm kind of a
Yeah.
fawner and I have to stop doing that as well because it's like a safety technique as well. But it's like also like I do want to have a discussion, but you cannot yell at me. I will
Yeah.
absolutely shut down. I want to hear what you have to say,
Yeah.
but you cannot yell at me.
Yeah.
And I will not yell at you because I'm not a yeller. I don't know how to get my
Yeah.
point across that way, you know.
Yeah.
I don't even know
You
if my voice will go up to that decibel level, you know.
you are such a funner too. Because
Hmm.
I've seen you have to be in an escalated scenario.
Hmm.
Personally, I have seen you and I'm just like, she's so sweet and quiet about it. I would be losing my fucking mind. Like we like between the two of us, if we went out and there was a bar fight, it'd be me protecting you, attacking somebody else. Like, and you would just be like,
Hey, can we just go into our own corner?
de-escalate.
And
And I'd
then
be like,
I will have
bottle
a
broken.
crazy spin session to like get all of that emotion out. Like I always call it like burning. I have to burn it out of me, you know? But it's just, and then I'm like, okay, I'm ready to come back to the table, you know,
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
thing. So it's, yeah, I just am like, I'm happy to hear what you have to say, but like, again, boundaries are like, I will not handle it, like, deal with something this way. So you do whatever you're going to do. But I'm like, if you're going to yell at me, I will remove myself from the situation
Yeah.
differently than just ignoring the situation, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Definitely.
to me, but to me, to like, for me to acknowledge that is different. And also to say like, okay,
Yeah.
when we're ready, we can come back and talk about this
Yeah.
because just two people yelling at each other is not two people talking to each other.
No, there's no
There is
communicating.
no
It's just getting
communication
out.
at that
It's
point.
just getting out emotion. I have a question.
Yes.
Were you ever a latchkey kid?
Yeah, I think we're on the end of that because I know a lot of Gen Xers were latchkey kids, but like we would come home and like call my mom to let her know that we were home safe. Like we're home safe
Yeah.
because you know we don't have cell phones. And then
Yeah.
we call them, I'm home safe. And then we just do our homework and make ourselves a
Yeah.
snack and do whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
definitely
was a
latchkey.
latchkey kid for a very, very long time.
Hmm.
And because both of my parents were um they were military.
Hmm.
They worked weird hours.
Hmm.
So I was a latchkey kid, and because of it, I self isolate. So this is another thing that I didn't realize that I was doing. That I was like, oh, this is something that I gotta really fix because this is not healthy. And I'm just talking isolate. I will stay in my house because I don't have to go to work. And
Hmm.
now that I've been in a remote role. I've been remote for since well before COVID, so about 6 to 7 years.
Hmm.
I will literally stay in my house, not go anywhere because I think like that's my comfort, right? That self isolation. And I mean, like, not even talk, like, have my voice come out of my mouth. So I have, as far as like healing my inner child, I've had to like actively stop doing that, like actively. So I've started when I feel myself like self isolating, I've started instead going somewhere, like going on a walk or going on a hike where I'm coming across people, but not having to have a conversation. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Yeah.
Um, I just do something very calm, but that is still comforting. Hiking, going to antique stores, things like that. They're like little things that I'm doing to just heal that part of me that just feels like I need to just be alone. And I think that sometimes people find that surprising because I'm such a social person. It's very easy for me to talk to people, but honestly, that's me masking. That's
Hmm.
very much me masking. And I've recently learned that term from my therapist, like, hey, it sounds like you're masking. And I'm like, I don't do that because I am not autistic. And she was like, but you're ADHD and you're an 80s child. So yes, you are. Like she really
Hmm.
calls me out.
Oh.
So yeah, she's great. So I just started like actively, as soon as I feel myself, like if I haven't left in a day or two from my house, I'm like, I gotta go outside. If I don't go outside, I'm gonna stay inside and I won't see people And that's going to be and I will go into a spiral if I don't go outside. Like I will stay. I'll start
And
having my
it
groceries delivered.
compounds.
It compounds and it
Mhm.
just gets worse and worse and worse. And I have found that it's just directly related to having to constantly be on my own as a kid. And that's not anything against my parents. Like they did the best that they could with what they were given. They're boomers in the military,
Mhm.
right? And they had a few kids. So I would walk home and I had a key around my neck and like everything. I was a latchkey kid for years, years and years.
Mm.
So, and yeah, I would call my mom as soon as I got home.
Yeah. And I think it's I I have to also keep an eye on it. I don't know, it's like an extroverted introvert. Like I
Yeah.
don't, or maybe I'm an introverted extrovert because I love a good night on the town, but I'm like, I gotta come in a
Yes.
little bit. I'm an introverted extrovert because I am an extrovert. But
Yeah.
my family, we all have locations on. And my mom texted me one time and she says, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yeah, why?" And again, I work remote, I work from home.
Yeah.
And she says, "You haven't left the apartment in 4 days." And I was like,
Rachel.
and I was like,
Yeah.
what? Like, I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
I could have taken that to 7 and not even noticed I had not gone outside. I am very thankful that I got a puppy coming soon, and I was
Yeah.
like, I have to go outside. I have to go and
Yeah.
take her for a walk and,
Yeah.
do these things. So I'm very, so but it's just like, oh, I know that I have to keep it in check,
Yeah.
you know, I need to
Yeah.
do that. But a thousand percent. But it's like, and then also from being in the military, I was a military spouse myself, as were you, but it's like, you have to learn to be independent, to not
Yes.
ask for those things that you need. So now it's like, I didn't realize I would do this, but the last person I was with, the Eagle, like he didn't call me on it, but he like noticed it. Where it's like, I don't want to be a burden. I could not
Yes.
express my needs in
Yes.
a relationship because I was like, oh no, it's fine. Like, because you have kids, like I know that I'm not top priority, like we're in a long distance relationship kind of thing. But I was like, he said, "What do you want to do?" And I was like, oh, it was kind of like I was just to be able to ask, "Hey, I would like to see you soon." But it's like, but I don't want to be an inconvenience. I don't want to be an inconvenience. That's what it
Yeah.
was. So it's like
That's so
being
relatable.
able to say that, like to be like, oh, I'm not asking for too much to want to see my partner, you know?
Right.
And so now it's really like I have to check myself to be like, because again, as women, we talk about this, like kind of how we're conditioned as, oh, you're asking for too much, you have to be demure or like just be quiet and look pretty kind of thing. So it's also like being able to stand up in my own power to be like, I'm just asking for normal things and that's okay. And
Yeah.
so once someone brought it to my attention, that I was like, okay, I'm going to say what I want and not follow it up with, but I don't want to be like if that is okay with like the plan at hand, but I just don't want to be
Yeah.
inconvenient. So it's okay if it doesn't happen, you
Yeah.
know, like that's still okay, XYZ. But I was
Ugh.
like, it's not too much to ask to like be with this person,
Yeah.
to spend time with this person that you are in a relationship with. And
Yeah.
I appreciate that he really did bring that to my attention because he's like, you're not an inconvenience. Like being
Aw.
with you is not an inconvenience. Like, but I just want to know, like, where are you at kind of a thing. So I could make
Yeah.
that a priority. And I was like, I appreciate that,
Yeah.
so it was really challenging. Um, but it's like, but I think the first step is just like, if you get triggered or something, like to acknowledge that you're like, okay, I see something now. And to be able to have enough healing or enough power just to be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, I see this. I don't
Yeah.
like it. I think I could elevate up into a more healed version of myself. How do
Yeah.
I go about doing that? And I think
Yeah.
acknowledgement is the first step.
Well, I think also we have to acknowledge where those behaviors are coming from, which is
Mhm.
really what we're talking about when it comes to healing our inner child. Like these are formidable years where things happen and it creates this person, almost these personality traits about us. And if we want to heal those personality traits, we have to understand and acknowledge where they're coming from. And we have to do the things to like make sure that we take care of that person that we were so that we can be the person we are now. So as a teenager, the things that I'm doing to like really heal, so child me definitely has issues with confrontation and self-isolating, but teen me has issues with not being able to be young when I needed to be young.
Because you're the oldest. You're
I'm
parental.
the right. So I took care of my siblings and um once I was done taking care of my siblings, I immediately had kids.
Yeah.
So
How
I
does it
never
h- how does it feel to now be your only child?
it is awesome.
Yeah.
Like I am my only child but with adult money. So I don't have to ask people, my mom and dad, for money to do stuff. I it's up to me to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I'm doing things that teenager me wanted to do but couldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
So I 3 years ago, I made a TikTok. And it was about me talking to 16-year-old me. And
Mm-hmm.
16-year-old me asks adult me, how many countries have we seen? How many stamps do I have in my passport? Have I been around the world yet? Because all I wanted to do was travel. I just wanted to see other countries so bad. And at the time, we lived on the border of Mexico. So it wasn't that big a deal to go to Mexico, but who gives a fuck about going to
Yeah.
Mexico at
In
that
your
point to us?
backyard, you know.
Right. So 16-year-old me asks adult me, how many countries have we seen? Have we been out of the country yet? And adult me goes, hey, we've seen one country. And 16-year-old me is like, oh, which one? And adult me is like, Mexico. And like the urge to remake that TikTok is so strong in me because I desperately want to tell 16-year-old me that not only have I been to 6 countries in just this year,
Mm-hmm.
but I went to one of those countries wearing my Juicy Couture tracksuit.
Yeah.
Like she needs to know that like it all hope is not lost.
You
Like
can
she needs to know that like you are seeing the world and you're doing it in style, sis. Like you're doing it. Like I just want to run, and I think that's super important. Like my therapist has told me like write a letter directly to yourself at the ages you feel like have been impressionable on you, have created these behaviors. So I, in my journal, after I got off the train in Edinburgh and saw like everything, and I was back on the train going back to England, I fucking just started writing to myself, like, hey, we have seen this. I am wearing this. You are doing it, sister. Just hang in there. Everything's going to be okay. And like afterwards, it was like so healing.
mm-hmm.
So healing. A little thing I did. Oh my God, Rachel. I was in the gas station. I was just driving. Where was I? Because I was on like kind of a long drive. I think it was like a 3-hour drive. I
Were you
think
abroad or were you stateside?
here, I was
Okay.
back in the States. This is another thing that I did where I realized in the moment I was healing my inner child. And it doesn't have anything to do with like issues or nothing like that, right? I was on a long drive and I was like, I have the munchies and I have to pee. So I stopped at the gas station and it was a big gas station. It was like a Sheets, like a
Mhm.
Bucky's,
Okay.
you know what I'm talking about? Large gas
No, that
station
means nothing
trucks.
to me out here in the
No.
West. So I
truck
believe you,
stop,
but no.
truck stop, gas
Okay.
station.
Okay.
You know, like they have they have food being
Mm-hmm.
cooked actively.
Okay.
I walked in and I was like, the adult side of my brain was like, you need to get a sandwich and maybe some fruit. That way you fill your stomach. Kid me walked down the candy aisle and I was like, part of adult me was like, just get one piece of candy. Kid me was like, it's my money. I'm getting all the candy I fucking want. And bitch, I bought all the candy I wanted. All the candy. I didn't get anything sensible. I did not get a sandwich. I did not get fruit. I didn't get none of that. Can I just tell you, going into a gas station on a road trip and buying all the candy that child Jackie would have wanted on a road trip and just eating it and a
Mm-hmm.
Gatorade,
Mm-hmm.
Gatorade and just a bag full of candy. In the moment I said to myself, I'm an adult. I can get the candy I want. I can get whatever candy I want. I can get whatever drink I want. I don't have to get nothing sensible if I don't want to because it's my money. And like I remember going through this narration in my head, getting that candy and like putting it in my car and like just eating it on the way home was so like 9-year-old Jackie
It
was
is,
like, yeah, fuck yeah.
and
Yeah.
let
Eat
it be
that
said
candy.
that it's like it doesn't take a lot of big things
It doesn't.
to heal your inner child. It could be as easy as just like buying candy. But I always say, who's going to give you everything that you want in this world? You.
Me. Yeah.
You will give yourself everything that you want in this world. But I have two scenarios, experiences of healing my own inner
Let's hear
child.
it.
We talk about Kimmy occasionally on this
Yeah.
podcast, and I think you really have something to do with this as well. Um, in the darkest parts of my mind that I don't like talking bad about myself internally to myself, but it's like
Yeah.
it's really easy for me to just be like, you're just a piece of white trash from the trailer from this shit farm town,
No.
so it's like it's really easy for me to like revert back to like you're nothing, you're gonna like be nothing kind of,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
but
not
it's
true, but yeah, I know
thank
what you're saying.
thank you, but I was like, no, Rachel Whitefield has arrived,
Yeah.
so
Right.
I don't let that part of me speak very loudly, if at all, but it's still in there, I'm not going to say that it's not, but it's like I never really like it sounds so silly, but it's like I never like really liked my clothes growing up, or I always wish I had like more or better.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so like I
That
remember
makes
when
sense.
I was yeah, absolutely. Like it's not up to me to buy it. It's up to like
Right.
my secretary mom and my mechanic dad,
Yeah.
to like we're not gonna oh my god what I just wanted to go buy all my clothes at Miller's Outpost and I couldn't, so
Or Driscoll's. You
I
remember
could not. Oh
Driscoll's?
my God. I
Oh,
felt like I was not worthy to go into Driscoll's. So it's really important, even though I kind of wear the same quote unquote uniform. It's a black tank top, chanclas, and like jeans or whatever. Like it's all the same, totally fine. But when I go out, I go all out.
yeah, you
And
do.
so, like, I remember I was in San Diego and Kimmy had come over and she was like, you have such a great closet. You have such a great wardrobe. And then when you came over, you were like, what do I wear? What do I pack? And I was like, I've got everything here, babes.
You
Like,
did.
and so it like, especially like you girls were the popular girls and you were always so nice as well. But it was like the validation I got from you as an adult
Yeah, I hear
in
you.
my amazing closet that I have
Yeah.
curated over the
You have.
decades and years.
The shoes alone.
Oh my God. Yes.
Shoes
So it's like,
alone. And thank God we wear the same size. I'm so
I
excited about
know.
that.
And it was so great just to be like, oh my gosh, my friends, I have something that other people want finally.
Yeah, I know what
That
that feels.
felt really good that I'm like, I have something that you want to wear. My
I
whole
know.
high teenage years was like, it's just everything that you wore to school. It's like, I wanted to wear it too, like I wanted to
Yeah.
shop in those places and I couldn't, so it was just really like, oh, I got that valid. Like we talk about clothing and like how much that Juicy Couture tracksuit meant to you.
Yeah.
retroactively and currently, how
Yeah.
much like buying candy. But I'll tell you, when I can buy myself a whole Disneyland trip as an adult, that I was like, do I want it? Yes. Do I get it? Yes. Do I want those ears?
Yes.
Yep. Do I want that like bubble wand? Sure do. You know,
Sure do.
do I want that Mickey shaped ice cream sandwich? Yep. No holds barred when I go to Disneyland because I'm like, I am healing a part of me that never really had it, you know,
Yeah.
that got, I still have that sense of wonder. And I was like, I try to do like a yearly Disneyland trip just to be like, let's like reconnect, you know, and it's
Mhm.
really, really wonderful. So at that point, it's like, it's in the vacation that I take myself on. And it's just more of like, could I go to a new place? Absolutely. But it is I call it my comfort blanket vacation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It is. I think Disney, for so many millennials, like people like get annoyed by Disney adults. But when I see, because here's the thing, I can understand why people as adults who didn't get to go as children become Disney adults. I am very, very lucky in that my parents, while we were not well off,
Mm-hmm.
they, instead of prioritizing having the good clothes or the good cars or the really fancy house, they prioritized family vacations.
Mm-hmm.
That is the one thing that my parents did for me that I really took now retroactively, and as a parent, like I did that for my kids. I took my kids to NASA. I took my kids to the Disney World. I we had season tickets to Disney for like 5 years. We had season tickets to SeaWorld
Annual
pretty much
pass.
my whole life. Like it was like one of those things that they were like, no, we get season tickets because it's cheaper. And we had
Yeah.
family in Los Angeles, so like we would go stay with family, and then we already had the tickets,
Mm-hmm.
and we got the military discount, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it was a little bit more affordable for us, especially in the 80s and 90s,
Mm-hmm.
to go and do those things. But that's what they prioritized, and so I got to do all of those experiences as a kid. I remember when the light parade came out. I remember when they started doing Tinkerbell flying to the Matterhorn, out of the Matterhorn. Anyways, I remember when they started the fireworks show. Seeing I remember the Neo ride with Michael Jackson, which is something that you probably have no idea about. There was a
In
3D,
Tomorrowland.
yeah, in Tomorrowland, there
I
was a
remember there was a Michael Jackson
3D
movie. Yeah.
show, a Michael Jackson show called Neo, and it was so, oh, I'm getting chills. It was so cool. And I remember when they took it out, my parents and I were just like, it's not even the same. You know what I'm saying? And like my mom is from LA, so she remembers go what they used to get instead of like standing in lines. You used to get like ticket books to ride the Disney rides, and you got
Mhm.
one ticket per ride. And then the really good rides were called e-ticket rides. So like Space Mountain was an e-ticket ride. And so we actually in the family have the phrase when something is very, very fun, it was an e-ticket ride kind of thing.
You're building
Yeah.
the Familect as
Yeah.
well.
It is a familect
Mhm.
word. Yeah, definitely. So because I have all of those amazing memories from literally growing up at Disneyland, I actually can see how healing,
Mhm.
I'm getting emotional thinking about it, how healing it can be for Disney adults, quote unquote, to go and meet the characters and get their autographs. Cause I have literally 42 autograph books filled,
And
like
I'm
from when I was
none.
a child.
Yeah.
Toontown. I remember when Toontown opened.
All my years are from when I'm an adult going,
Yeah.
you know, and
So
just
you
I'm gonna
didn't
scream
see
my head off on
Toontown?
all the attractions, you know, and
Yes.
it's like, who's gonna give you everything you want in this world? You are,
You bitch.
and it's great. And I was like, that is what my big thing to heal. Like, one, my closet is my day-to-day healing of my inner
Yep.
child, or like my
Yeah.
inner teenager. We say child, but minor, just
Yeah.
like
Your
of what
inner
I can remember.
teenager is an important
Formative.
aspect to heal.
Mm-hmm.
That
And
I
you
think is
did.
something, yeah, that is something I think that has been more important to me to heal, because a lot of really fucked up shit happened to me as a teenager. And some of it's my own of my own doing, putting myself in situations I shouldn't have been in knowingly,
Mm-hmm.
fully aware. Some of it is because of the way I grew up, some of it is because of where I grew up. You know what I'm saying? But I think that doing these little things and doing these little bit larger things like traveling and going to Disney, so important. Heal your inner teenager. Heal it.
Yeah.
He, they, them. I don't give a shit what you're calling yourself. Heal
Yeah.
them, because you're going to be so much happier. I have experienced so much more happiness in the moment since starting this process of healing my inner child, inner
Yeah.
teenager, for
And I
sure.
and I really want to reiterate, it's not just about a vacation, but I was like, it's candy. It's when someone has been telling you no, you can be like, I can tell myself yes, and that is
Yeah.
okay. And that feels good that I can
Yeah.
do it. Because I think it's like as our generation just starts having less and less kids, it's like, well, I got money. What am I going to spend it on? It's like, I'm going to go buy that Funko that I never
Yeah.
could. I'm going to go
Yeah.
buy, you know what? I think I might just go buy a Rainbow Bright t-shirt. Like
I
I
think you should.
finally get it. Like, oh, She-Ra, Princess of Power. I've always
Yes.
loved the strong women.
Yes. Or like I stopped dressing like a goth when I was about 14 ish, like after
Because
I
you
got,
wanted to be
and that's
popular at school. And
because I
now that's
wanted to
all
be,
you do. Yes.
yeah,
Oh, I
I
see
wanted to be
it.
accepted. So now I'm like, fuck, I don't give a fuck if I'm accepted. Everybody likes my personality.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't they love it if I just leaned into the fact that I am absolutely a goth little witchy thing in the woods?
I always wanted long, beautiful hair, could never grow it. So I just bought it.
I love it.
You just buy it. It's not
I
anything you
love
can't
it.
find on the internet nowadays, like you
Yeah.
want the hair, Rachel, just go buy it. Gee, thanks. Just got it.
Yes,
Okay, just got
exactly.
it.
Exactly. You want to carry, let me just tell you, this is a hack I just learned. Would you like to go to a luxury mall and carry around a large Tiffany bag? Here's my advice. Go buy yourself a set of $125 Tiffany champagne flutes. The bag is huge.
Mm.
Oh, it's huge. And it's
We're gonna have to do that
125.
together.
Oh, I
I've got so
can't
many
wait.
Tiffany champagne
Imagine the
flutes.
rush. Oh, I
Mm.
just know it's going to be good. I'm not going to regret it. We're going to drink out of them. I don't care. But it is going to heal the part of me when I was a kid, a teenager, seeing the rich girls
That
be
felt
able to
poor.
buy the Tiffany. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Or even as a young adult when I was raising my kids,
Yeah.
and all my money went to my kids. Same idea.
Yeah.
Do something little that gives you that piece of excitement that you really knew was there,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
No, that's
You
my
don't have to
thing.
tell yourself no if
You
that is a
don't.
part of your healing, which is great. Like that's what I love. Oh my God. Jackie,
Rachel.
what a fantastic
I
whiskey bent
know.
portion.
I know. I love
Oh.
this conversation because
Mm-hmm.
I find myself every day doing it more and more,
Mm-hmm.
and finding more examples of how I am healing that younger me. And I'm starting to heal 20-year-old Jackie at this point. Like when she was having kids and having to focus on just having kids instead of learning who she was. That's where I'm at right now. So I love this path. I love this journey, and I love when other women step into it and like learn who they are and
And
heal that part of themselves.
And I want to close on the reminder that healing is not linear and it doesn't always have to be finished. And honestly, I don't think there is a finish line. You know,
There
so it's
isn't.
like, as you're like, I healed a 16 part of 16-year-old Jackie, you're like, all right, what does 20-year-old Jackie need? It's like, yes, let's go travel, let's
Yeah.
go do something. And I think that's really remarkable just to be able to acknowledge and just be like, yeah, it's okay. And it's always going to be there.
Yeah.
But oh, girl, I see you shuffling those cards. We are using the Black Tarot once again. Has anything jumped
Yeah.
out? Because Spirit has been very loud as of late.
So nothing has really jumped out
Hmm.
at this point. I have been sort of just handling them throughout the conversation just because I think I'm trying this new. Okay, so let me just back up. I met a tarot reader
Hmm.
who I've been communicating with, and she's been really giving me so much good advice on how to like really get to know your tarot cards. And so I have been just handling the cards the entire conversation to kind of almost prepare them, spirit, whoever, whatever, to give
Infuse
us.
them in our conversation.
There you go. Infuse them with the energy of what we're talking about.
Hmm.
Oh, there's one.
Okay. I knew it.
Let's see what they have to say.
I'm very excited.
This whiskey is delicious. I love a peanut butter
I
whiskey.
know. You've been on a little nut crusher.
A nut crusher kick,
Nut
right?
crusher kick. Yeah, that's right. I don't think that's how they
Let's.
say it in Canada, but
Oh yeah, nut crushery. Don't challenge me to a accent competition. Okay.
It's
I'm
just
really just
Alberta.
I don't know if I'm doing an Canada accent or a Minnesota accent. It might be a combination of both because they're nabes and they're basically the same kind of people.
Yeah.
And I say that with all the love because one of my
Hold on.
besties is actually from Minnesota. So I just impersonate her.
I love it so much. Okay. Yes. One of my
All
alternate
right.
personalities is Midge. She just likes
Yo,
a good
yeah,
hot
Mitch.
dish. Yeah. You
Oh
know.
yeah. I just live 2 trailers over. Have you seen the movie American Beauty with Kirsten Dunst? If
American
you have not
Beauty?
seen that movie, it is
No,
probably
you're talking about the beauty queen one? It's
yes.
not American Beauty, but I know which one you're talking about.
It's not American Beauty.
No, that has Kevin
American.
Spacey and like Thora Birch and stuff.
Oh, I'm
I
getting the
know which one you're
title
talking
wrong.
about. Yes, it's the
But
beauty
you
queen
know,
one. Yeah, it has Brittany Murphy in it
it does. It
and
has
Denise
Brittany Murphy.
Richards. Yes.
Yes. Oh my God. It is
Oh my God. I'm gonna
so
Google while you pull up the
yeah. Pull up tell me what the freaking name of that damn movie is. Oh God. It is so funny. All right.
Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Drop is that what it's called? Drop Dead
Yes.
Gorgeous?
Yes. And they were the Mall of America.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I got the
First.
Page of Spears. This is the first card that I
Page
pulled.
of Spears upside down, inverted.
Upside down. Look at him.
That's impressive.
I first of
Look
all,
at
I
those
think
hammies.
this deck is so beautiful.
It
Yeah.
really is.
The Page of Spears. Um, this says experiment. Try not to get lost in starting, but not finishing anything.
Oh.
This has uh, upside down represents the lack of ability. And when we're children, we do not
Mhm.
lack the ability, we do not have the ability
Mhm.
to provide for us every single thing that
Yes.
we need.
And
Not even our parents
we're not
have
faulting our
the ability.
parents for telling us
I'm
no. They
not.
did the best they could with what they
They
had.
did. Yeah.
However, we can
However,
we can make up the difference now.
yes, we can. And so I really think this is kind of very emblematic, symbolic of being a child. We
Mhm.
don't have the ability to do everything for us. And honestly, neither do our parents.
Mm-mm.
They genuinely can only do what they can do. And I always just like I love this trend that's going around on TikTok right now. Your mom is just a girl.
Mhm.
And you just have to remember that mom's just a girl. She's just a girl experiencing the world. We are just girls experiencing the world.
And
We blame a lot on our mothers every single time. Our moms are just girls. They don't have the ability to do absolutely everything. And I think that's what this has like symbolizes. The next one is the Fool.
Mm.
The Fool represents innocence and a free spirit.
God damn it, Spirit.
I'm saying the major arcana tells the story of an individual's path towards completion. Yeah. Yeah. Spirit's really like on something today. And then finally, we have the 9 of Spheres. Focus on your purpose. The 9 of Spheres. Focus on your purpose and use it to attain the wealth you desire. Be the best that you can be for yourself so that you can earn the most. And that doesn't even mean financially alone. That means
Emotional wealth.
spiritually, emotionally, mental wealth, all of that. It just has a lot to do with empowerment. This is just like you are empowered when you are healing your inner child. You are absolutely empowered. And then let's talk about the card that jumped out as I was shuffling. This is the 9 of Wands. The 9 of Wands represents resilience. It represents pushing forward. It represents achieving victory after a time of battle. So
Within oneself, I would say.
yeah, it does seem that way. It does seem that way. It seems like Spirit is really telling us that, yeah, you were not in control when it came to your upbringing. And your parents really did everything that they could to give you what they could. And this even goes, I think, for people who grew up in unstable households. We are all just doing the best that we can with what we are given. And sometimes it is not what you deserve as a human being. And so it is now your responsibility to get through that and heal that part of you in order to basically reap what you can sow. And you're going to succeed at all of that as long as you really focus on healing those little tiny things. They don't even have to be big things. We talked about that. They don't have to be big things. They can be little things that you have control over. Just doing, I'm telling you, just buying the fucking candy sent me on this whirlwind of I can heal myself.
I got it.
I got it.
Got it.
And it gave me this new perspective. And I'm just loving this journey that I'm on. And I'm telling you, it is scary to get on that healing journey to heal your inner child, but it is absolutely worth it. And you will reap what you sow.
Yeah. You won't regret it.
You will achieve all of the things that you want to achieve. It's going to be a battle, but you got victory on your side. You just have to get there.
Yeah.
I am starting to like this deck the more I get to know this deck.
Spirit is loud.
Yeah.
In that deck. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Well, Jackie, are you ready to join me over on our Patreon?
Oh my God. What are we talking about, Rachel? Please tell them.
You are going to be telling me the latest hot goss about Gypsy Rose Blanchard.
Oh my
God. I am adjacently aware of high level what has been going on. But you are gonna have to fill me in on all that steaming hot cheese may.
It is hot goss.
Hot
on
goss.
Gypsy Rose. We'll do a backstory. We'll do current events. It is just the hottest goss that has ever gossed. The cheese maid that is cheese made.
The Patreon link is in the show notes below. Join our coven on Patreon. It is $3.95 per month. We would love it. You get early show releases, a shout out in the after show notes, and Patreon exclusives like all the hot goss. So join us over there for the after hours sizzle reel of Patreon. But until then, Jackie, thank you for being here for another fantastic and fabulous episode of Whiskey Bent and
Spellbound with Black
Whitefield.
Love you,
Love you.
bye.
Bye.